Right. So first we have discussed about is Uttarakhand government has recently taken a decision to open almost 83 different Himalayan peaks that you have, including major peaks like Nanda Devi. For what purposes? Mountaineering expedition, we can say, for tourism purposes and all that, especially for those people who are interested in adventure tourism, hiking expedition, climbing, mountain climbing and all that. So that is why it was in news. Few of the important peaks that is open. The tallest peak you have in the lesser Himalayas, for example, one of the tallest peak, Kamet, Nanda Devi eastern part, Chokhamba peak, Trishul peak, as well as Shivling peak as such. What is the main objective behind such kind of decision? Promoting adventure tourism as such. Promoting adventure tourism, and obviously if more tourists come, it will lead to development of what I can call as livelihood opportunities as well. So adventure tourism, livelihood opportunities as well as global participation we see. So when you talk about opening, what else has been done? For example, if you are going to climb on Mount Everest, you need to pay a certain amount of fee, right? So that fee in this case has been waived. Plus, to facilitate mountaineering this expedition team, the entire permission system has been made completely digital as such. So fully digital, everything will be done digitally. You will get approvals and all that. And overall, it is a shift toward regulated access as far as to the high altitude mountains are concerned. Till now, most of these peaks are beyond, we can say, mountaineering expeditions and all that. Even though if you want, you cannot climb it. So it is expected to attract large number of such tourists, not only from India but also from all across the world. Because you will see in Nepal, if you go, most of tourists are coming for what purpose? One of the major objective is mountaineering. So we also have similar Himalayan ranges, extension of Himalayan ranges in Uttarakhand, similar peak height we have. So why we cannot do same? That is the reason why Uttarakhand government has taken this particular decision as such. This is again to understand the Himalayas. We already have discussed in class, but three ranges: Great Himalaya, Lesser Himalaya, and this Shivalik range. So continuation you see Sikkim, then you have further Nepal, and then further you have which region? Uttarakhand. Then you have part of Himachal Pradesh, then Jammu and Kashmir. So all these peak, Kamet, Nanda Devi, it will be opened for the expedition. The background and significance, if you understand, anyway we understand adventure tourism is a high risk, high spend niche segment. So one of the other objective of government is generating revenue for local people, because more and more tourists are coming to participate in mountaineering expedition, where they will spend money on local guides, local goods and services they will we can say they will get from. So overall extent is 2,500 meters. This is anyway static part we have discussed. Garhwal Kumaon, highly attractive mountain ranges. Earlier the reason behind restriction was why government did not open this earlier. Why this decision is taken now? Because the major concern was ecological fragility of Himalayas. Or we can say also other region is border sensitive. Like means as Indian citizens also, many areas if you want to go, you cannot simply take your bag and go. You have to take permits, protected area permit or inner line permit that you have, protected area for the foreign citizens and all. So that is why, because of ecological sensitivity, border sensitivity, can say the decision was to not open these peaks, but now it seems that policy has changed, and similar policy as Nepal has adopted, open mountaineering system, you can say, is now we are also this applying in case of India. So that's the overall background. Governance and legal dimensions, if you look, tourism overall from political perspective, which subject? State. So Uttarakhand government can make rules and regulations however they want. Himachal Pradesh can tomorrow also make similar rules and regulations. So it depends on them. But at the same time, in the Himalayas, what do you have else? Forest and wildlife. These are in which list? Concurrent list. So whenever due to the mountaineering, if forest and wildlife is threatened, then central government can come up and bring their own legislation and policies and rules and all that. So we can see some degree of confrontation later in the future as such. But overall, this thing we have to understand that no matter whatever decision state government take to boost tourism or not, whenever it is going on in the mountainous areas, any decision must comply with what act? Central act such as Forest Conservation Act, Wildlife Protection Act that we have, Article 48A, that is directive principle of state policy you would have read about, that talks about a state duty to protect environment. So it should take into consideration these principles also. Similarly, Article 51A. What is Article 51A? Right, citizens' duty to safeguard nature, that is enshrined here. So overall, though it is the state government Uttarakhand's decision to open this peak, but one thing we have to understand is that in the future, if it becomes operational, what we require? Center state coordination. Okay, this cannot violate the policies that central government has created as far as the ecological sensitive zones and the environmental conservation is concerned. Impact wise, if you look, adventure tourism, what do they have advantage of? High per capita spending. Okay, like for example, especially foreign tourists who come to climb on Mount Everest, they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars for it. All these dollars would go where? To boost the local economy, to create livelihood opportunities for local people, employment opportunities for local people. So like Sherpa community you have in Nepal. Okay, most of them are employed in this sector, same sector. So we also have many such tribes living in the hilly areas. They are continuously moving across this high altitude terrain and all that. They would also benefited here. So guides, porter, transport, plus you would see opening up homestays, okay, restaurants, resorts and all that. Equipment rentals, because the mountaineering equipments also are very high cost, expensive in nature. When you talk about the boots, the jackets and the also oxygen cylinder if you're going very high at top. Okay, so all these are required. And from state government perspective, it will also be beneficial because tourism in its present form itself contribute 7 to 8% of GDP. If it is boosted, what we can see? This contribution further rising up. So state GDP would also be improved. Over dependence currently in Uttarakhand, majority of tourists who are going for mountaineering purposes are restricted on one route only. That is Char Dham. Char Dham is Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath. Okay, so opening of these would divert some of these tourists to other areas. So pressure that we are seeing in this area, pilgrimage area, that will also reduce, and thus we can claim that ecological conservation that we are facing problems with here due to the rapid infrastructure development and all that, that can also be controlled to a great extent. Local youth, okay, obviously will be empowered, plus distress migration that we are seeing in the border areas, mountainous areas, because people are not able to find jobs, they also can be prevented. This is also in line with the recent approach that central government has taken, because in the this vibrant villages scheme they have brought in, where they are trying to ensure that in the border areas all across, especially sensitive borders such as China border, Bangladesh border, Pakistan border, people remain where they are, they stay where they are. So it reduces the risk that we have for military adventurism by neighboring countries. Such environmental and disaster concerns are there. Many people are saying, experts have suggested that this would be not a good idea. Why? What kind of mountain are Himalayas? Geologically young mountain. Geologically young mountain means tectonically active. Rocks are very soft. Rocks are prone to slides. Landslides are very common, either due to heavy rainfall, cloudburst or tectonic activities and all that. Right? So it includes such kind of risk here. So avalanches, flash floods, glacial instability. And this will rise definitely because of the construction boom we might see in future. Right? It is obvious, if more and more tourists are coming to Himalayas, what would they require? Places for staying, places for eating. So restaurant, resorts, okay, hotels, homestays, house stays, all this will start to develop here at a rapid pace. That would further increase the vulnerability this region already has due to its original location, right? So fragile alpine ecosystem with low resilience overall we can say, plus as tourists throng to Himalayas, what is the other problem? Waste management. Many times they are not responsible, not all tourists are responsible, so they throw and dump their waste wherever they are staying as such, especially waste such as plastic waste. Okay, this organic waste anyway they can get decomposed, degraded, but plastic waste that you have, they becomes very difficult to degrade, and that is why they will keep on building up the pressure as such. And this we have to learn our lessons from past also. In 2013 what we have seen? Kedarnath flood. Okay, then further in 2021 you have the flood in the Rishi Ganga. One of the major reason was due to over tourism. Okay, the channel of the rivers that you have, they continuously kept on getting narrower and narrower. So how much water it should carry naturally? It carried relatively lesser volume water than that. What would obviously lead to what kind of situation? Flood-like situation. So disasters from the past also point to the ill effects of such kind of changes, especially in the mountainous terrain. So challenges obviously same thing. weak waste enforcement and limited rescue infrastructure. If people get trapped during mountaineering expedition, what we need to develop first? Rescue infrastructure, okay, search and rescue and all that. So what can be done? Way forward, what you can say? Waste buyback. There should be incentive for people. Okay, what incentive? That if you are this creating so much waste, if you are able to bring it back, you will get certain amount of money. Or like how do they do in Germany or European countries? You buy a bottle of water, suppose you pay 15 rupees, actual cost is only 12 rupees. Why they are taking 3 rupees extra? Because if you come back, return this plastic waste, put this in the designated bin and all that, you will get 3 rupees back. So it acts as an added incentive. People will not without mindlessly throw it anywhere. Okay, they will always have this thing in mind that I will get money back from it. So what will happen? It will result into better environmental bond and conservation. Mandatory insurance, training and welfare obviously is required for guides and porters if mountaineering expedition develop here as such. And overall, definitely we can say that such activity will promote what kind of tourism? Community based ecotourism, if you take these into consideration, if you basically implement all these things, and that is also aligned with the UN has come up with, you should study about this 30 SDGs that you have, sustainable development goal. Okay, so 12, 13 and 15, that is also it is associated. So that's the first topic. Second topic is issue government notifies coking coal, which kind of mineral? Critical and strategic mineral under MMDR. Okay, MMDR Act, it was brought in 1957, Mines and Minerals Development Regulation Act, right? So under MMDR Act, coking coal is now designated as critical and strategic mineral as such. Okay, now first we have to understand what does it mean, critical and strategic mineral. When we can call any mineral as critical or strategic, two things are there. First of all, if we are over dependent on any one particular supply chain, that means on one or two countries as such. Like in case of rare earth, entire world is largely revolving around China, right? So many countries have clubbed rare earth as what kind of mineral? Rare earth, this critical or strategic mineral. Second, if such minerals are very important for the entire industrial ecosystem of country, right? Like iron and steel industry, it is considered as the basic industry of any country as such, because it supports all other industries that you have here. Every industry, whatever machines, equipments they are operating, what they are made up of? Steel. So coking coal is very important for which sector? Steel sector. The steel sector is very important for entire industrial ecosystem. So obviously it provides what? A kind of criticality to the coking coal as such. So these are the reasons. Okay, over dependency on any one region, and second, important and vital role in the industrial development. So that is why after the recommendation of Niti Aayog, okay, Niti Aayog come up with the recommendation first, government finally decided to put coking coal as a critical mineral as such, right? Now once coking coal has been declared as a critical mineral, what it will lead to? The major aim is to reduce India's dependency on import, right? So for that, we can bolster our what we have to bolster now? Domestic production as such, right? Or if we are over relying on any one country, we can try to diversify our sources, so that even if one country faces challenge in supplying coking coal to us, we can then switch to other countries easily. We do not have to face disruption in the future. And it is also aligned with which kind of this policy? Atmanirbhar Bharat, where we have to reduce dependency and increase effort to indigenize almost all the industries. Viksit Bharat this scheme also. X and simple, not so much important, but which act give power to government to classify mineral as critical mineral? Okay, important from prelims perspective. MMDR, simply section and all that not important. Amendment to the first schedule of the act included in definition of coal now. Okay, part A separately listed as critical and strategic mineral. Part D. Earlier, if you talk about coking coal was type of coal. So within the mineral list, it was part of part A. Critical minerals are listed differently. In which part? Part D. So after this decision is taken, what government will have to do? Remove it from part A, put it separately under part D. So coal will be in section A now, part A now, and coking coal will be in the part D. So that's the overall, we can say, changes made at the official level. Now question is that what is coking coal. So coking coal also called as metallurgical coal because largely it is used in which industry? Steel industry. Grades of coal we have discussed. The best grade of coal is anthracite. Second best is bituminous. Within bituminous also you have a special grade of coal, okay, that undergoes carbonization to produce coke when it is put under the iron furnace, okay, as such. So when it is put in blast furnace, basically when it put in blast furnace, what happens? It produces a kind of cake like structure, okay. That structure is only produced from which kind of coal? A special grade of bituminous coal. So this caking is very important for what purpose? Steel making. So if you want to create high grade steel with less impurities, you cannot depend on simple coal. You have to use which kind of coal? Coking coal as such, okay, special grade of bituminous coal. So that point we have discussed. What kind of property it exhibits? Caking property. Caking means how cake look like. What kind of structure? Soft structure and very puffy, swelling kind of appearance. So it softens and swells when it is heated in the blast furnace. That is seen in the case of coking coal. Plus, what is the other advantage? You need to remove or reduce impurities. Coking coal has advantage here. Ash content, okay, sulfur content, phosphorus content, even moisture content many times. It is much more lower as compared to normal coal. That makes it good candidate for the steel industrial development. Overall, this, if you look, we consume how much kilogram of coal? 780 kilogram of coal to produce how much ton of steel? 1 ton of steel. So consumption is very high, and that is why it can be considered as a strategic input as far as the manufacturing of steel is concerned. That's the thing. So low impurity, that is the most important point. You will read the content that you have. Now, if we talk about the Indian scenario, major producer globally, what do we have? China, Australia, Russia, US and Canada. India is world's second largest steel producer. We know China is the largest producer. Now, India has overtaken Japan, has emerged as second largest producer. And thus, here dependency on coking coal is very high. But the problem is 95% of coking coal we are not producing domestically. Where we are obtaining it from? Australia, Indonesia, two major countries. Okay, so 57.58 million tons, okay, again not important, but overall this much amount of coking coal we have imported from countries such as Australia and Indonesia. So strongly dependent on import, that is what we can say, and this is something government is trying to do what? To change as such. So this might we might be able to do it in the future, okay, because now we have put it under the strategic list, okay, or critical mineral list as such. And this so coal production and all that we have discussed in classes. Then third topic is related to in this class of internal security. We have talked about a agency called as CERTIN. What is CERTIN? What is full form? Forgot. Internal security challenges in the cyber security, cyber threat chapter. We have discussed about CERTIN, Computer Emergency Response Team India. That's the full form. CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team. IN stand for India. So this particular agency organization was news. Why it was news? Because the evaluation was being done of its report that published for the year 2025 as such. During its report, it has highlighted certain things. First is, if you look at data itself, comparison, if you do 2013 and then we have 2025. The incidence of cyber threats has rose exponentially in case of India. Like in 2013, number of reported cyber threat, we can say crime, okay, was how much? 50,000. From 50,000 in 12 years, it has climbed to how much? 2.14 million. That means 21 lakh roughly we can say. From 50,000 to 21 lakh. This is the exponential increase in the number of cyber attacks that India has witnessed at a this national scale. So obviously it is pointing toward what factor? Rising cyber threat, because obviously the extent of digital ecosystem in India has kept on growing. Okay, today almost we can say entire our life, no matter whether we are connecting with family, friends, government, businesses, is revolving around which kind of ecosystem? Digital ecosystem. Even government structure, government offices, ministries and all that, they have begun to use digital ecosystem as a main way of dispensing services and all that. So obviously due to this risk has risen. And when we are talking about our vision, what is the vision? Digital India. We cannot emphasize overemphasize about the key role of securing digital India infrastructure here, right? So that is why CERT's role will be very important. Focus overall of this agency is on what? Developing resilience of the cyber system that we have in India amid increase in several attacks like ransomware like attacks, phishing attack, and these days because of coming of AI it has become very much difficult, okay, to differentiate between real and false, okay, truth and can say something that is not true. So increase in such cases like digital arrest we have discussed in classes. The scam has been continuously rising, okay, awareness is lacking there. So many people every month, at least 1 or 2 news all across India you would hear where people have become victim of digital arrest. They have spent lakhs and lakhs, crores and crores of rupees. They have given it to scammers because they posed as officials of government agencies, police and narcotics control bureau and all that. So that is the other issue we will be facing in the future, especially with the rise of AI. Okay, because from AI these days, many of the miscreants have begun to make such videos which unless until you look very in depth, you will not be able to differentiate whether it is a real video or whether it is a morphed or fake video as such. Okay, so many celebrities also have become victim of this. Now coming to certain Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, National Agency for Cyber Incident Response. This is the nodal agency, we can say. Any case of cyber attack that happens, especially targeting the important infrastructure, response has to be met by the people who are part of CERT-N, Computer Emergency Response Team of India. And their very important point, prelims based question can be asked here, because this we have discussed under which subject? Largely internal security is domain of which ministry? Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, all agencies, central armed police forces are under Home Affairs. So question can be asked, okay, that CERT-N works under Home Ministry. If you are not careful, you can think that it is correct because cyber threat is also kind of internal security threat, but that is not true. Under which ministry it works? MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So very important factual point, this you should keep in mind. MHA, though it is overall in charge of internal security, but as far as cyber threat is concerned, the CERT-N, the nodal agency, works under the command control of MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Mandated by which act? Because any agency if you are creating, okay, you have to have either what you can call it, what is the term that is used for agencies which are mandated under legislative act? Statutory bodies. Okay, so under which act you have provision of this agency? Information Technology Act 2000, later it was amended in 2008 also. So that is the basic things. What is the core function? 3 approaches it has. First, we are always vulnerable against cyber threat. So CERT-N is responsible for taking which kind of measure? Preventive measure. So that cyber criminals, cyber hackers are not able to infiltrate your defenses and all that. They are not able to steal sensitive information, data and all that. They are not able to take control of computer systems and all that. So preventive attacks. Second, if risk is rising, incident is rising, or if cyber attack is underway, what they have to do? Monitor it. And based on this, they have to further respond, okay, either during the threat or after the threat, because if threat is successful, if attack is successful, okay, like recently a Chinese backed hacker group called as APT, they targeted the major hospital of India, that is AIMS. So it was a kind of we can call as attack where they were demanding certain amount of money, okay, they ensured that entire system is under the control of APT. So AIMS officials were not able to access patient data, patient health record, okay, their vitals and all that. So it is very, very difficult and challenging task. They said that we'll give you access only when you give us about $2 to $3 million of money they demanded. So ransomware we can say example of. So which agency will be responding in such cases to take back control? It will be CERT-N. So 3 things: prevention, monitoring and response as far as the cyber incident, cyber threats are concerned. So all kind of attack, phishing attack, ransomware, online fraud, or even AI enabled scams which is going on, CERT-N response here. Protect critical digital infrastructure. Issues also, what else? Alerts, advisories and coordinate incident response, because if state governments officials agencies are targeted, then you will have a state cyber police and all that. So they will also work in close coordination with which agency? CERT-N. So that is what we mean by coordinate incident response with the other concerned agencies. That's the core function of the CERT. Now later on it was understood that India has now such a large vast digital infrastructure, giving responsibility of entire India to a single agency is humongous task. Okay? They will not be able to fulfill their obligations and duties. What we should do then? Create sectoral CERT. So you have sectoral CERT in which sector? Critical sector like banking, financial institutions. Which sector? Power sector. Which sector? Two more. Two more, defense and telecommunication are online. They are going to develop there. What is the responsibility of this sectoral CERT? That if cyber attack is targeting the sector, it is the sectoral CERT which will be the main agency there. Right? If they need some help, then can rope in the officials of CERT and all that. So that is to divide overall the burden, work burden. Plus for general public, CERT has come up with the CSK, Cyber Swachhata Kendra. If you fear or if you are what I can say, you feel that your laptop or mobile devices are bugged, okay, or some kind of malware and all these things are operating there, you can go and get it checked. Okay, it will clean your malware, whatever botnets that you have. So very very important from general this general public perspective, right? Providing them Cyber Swachhata Kendra, the cleaning facilities. Then it has come up with the National Cyber Coordination Center, same, in a coordinated way how to repel the attack, and it is also the agency responsible for framing cyber crisis management plan. It is basically a set of SOPs. SOPs means standard operating procedures, that what has to be done in the case of a cyber, in the event of a cyber attack. So that plan also is framed by CERT. Sectoral CERT, overall it is sectoral but operate under the umbrella of CERT itself. Okay, so command and control is with CERT. What is the significance? Strengthening national cyber resilience. Okay, again same thing, supports what? National security and economic stability. Because cyber sector is not something, cyber system today is not only limited to one sector. It is encompassing almost all the sectors of economy as such. So if cyber threat increases, number of attack increases, it's not that only hospitals or power infrastructure or telecommunication will be impacted. What will be destabilized? Your entire economy will be destabilized as such. Suppose that, for example, we have seen many cases where banks such as SBI or big banks such as Axis Bank, they have been targeted by cyber criminals. Sensitive information, credit card information and all that, it has been taken by criminals as such. These are very few cases. That's why you still trust the bank. If suppose these cases become more frequent in nature, right? You're not very sure that whether the money that you have put in your bank account is safe or not. What will happen? People will lose trust in the entire financial system as such. That will be akin to economic collapse, economic instability, large scale. So that's why very very vital that you protect our cyber infrastructure. Overall, if cyber infrastructure and defense is robust, general people also are able to trust in the digital ecosystem. Why we are able to show our face everywhere, okay, or like record our face when you go to this airport, for example, okay, now because you are trusting government that your data will not be misused. When the government is taking your photograph, it not be misused as such, right? So that is also possible only if there is enough cyber security. Global recognition by World Economic Forum, Oxford and ANSI you have from France, they have recommended this, they have clearly stated that whatever decision and the steps CERT has taken to make our cyber security system robust is very good as such, okay, and all that. And overall we can say it is aligned with what? Which scheme? Digital India scheme and the vision of ensuring cyber security. So these are all points we have to keep in mind. From examination perspective, simply what you have to largely focus here. What is CERT? What is its core function? Okay, and some steps recent years what they have taken, not more than that. Okay, all these so much things anyway you will not have to write this. Then coming to the next topic. That's in 3 years nearly 60% order. That is related to this. You have an organization called as NBDSA. Okay, national. Okay, you have this broadcast. This. So last 3 years, what they have done? 60% of orders by TV and digital news regulators cite what kind of violation? Communal code violation. Okay, so this organization is responsible for ensuring that whatever is being shown where on TVs or digital channel and all that, they do not disturb the communal harmony of country. You cannot publish and broadcast such kind of news, such kind of programs which are disturbing communal harmony. But what actually we have seen in 3 years, 60% of the orders that NBDSA has passed, it is in context of what violation? Communal code violations, right? So that's the reason why we are talking about this. So in last 3 years, violation related to communal harmony code, cases involved which kind of agencies? Private TV channel as well as digital news broadcaster. Digital news broadcaster means on YouTube these days everyone is becoming journalist. Okay, everyone can start talking about some issue, and many times we see sometimes they sensationalize issue so much and it attracts and catches a lot of eyeballs. So channels start to grow. Right now, one such kind of news has brought attention to channel. If they again start to broadcast general news which is available everywhere, people will lose interest in that channel. So what these people are doing, they always are coming with such kind of controversial statement, controversial remark, controversial news, okay, where they are bringing in communal angle to any particular news as such. So that is largely to remain in focus, okay, to have more revenue, more money and all that. So it overall raises concern over ethical journalism as well as social cohesion. Okay. So that was the concern why we are talking about this agency. So News Broadcasting and Digital Standard Authority as such. So what is NBDSA? NBDSA, the organization which has given order related to communal code violation. First of all, we have to remember from prelims perspective, it is not a statutory body. Okay, it is a independent self-regulatory body as such. Okay, so independent self-regulatory body set up by News Broadcasters and Digital Association. Okay, all the news broadcaster digital media platform, they have collectively set up this organization. It represents private TV and digital news broadcaster, and who is funding it? Member organizations and such. So it is funded by member organizations. That is the first thing. Understood? So that is the NBDSA. Okay, this is again data not important, but overall you can see how many complaints were raised in last 2-3 years. 54 complaints. They have given penalizing order. That means penalty has been imposed on these channels in 43 cases. Out of these 54 complaints, how many cases are of communal cases? 39. That means we can say majority of complaints that are coming against this news item or program is related to disturbance of communal harmony. 37 cases were such where what can this agency do? They can either put penalty on the news channels for airing such kind of content, or if it is very disturbing kind of content, more grave of nature, what they can also do? Ask them to remove the content completely from their channel, platform and all that. Right? Total value of fine imposed, however, is just 3.2 lakhs. So fine penalty is not very high, and average time taken from complaint to order is how much? If someone puts a complaint today, the probability is that after 1 year, okay, the matter will be resolved. So also we can say pace is slow, okay, slow pace nature of working. Now coming to mandate, what is the mandate? That means the core function objective of this organization. What is the regulatory framework? Okay, so enforces news broadcasting and digital standard regulations that are brought in 2008. Because if you remember what happened in 2008, 2611. That time concern was raised because whatever broadcast was being done by news channels, okay, it was broadcasted to public everywhere in public, how energy is moving, where terrorists might be hidden and all that. So all the movement of energy commandos, security personnel were completely being broadcasted, and it was seen that then the handlers who are sitting in Pakistan, they were able to access this information, and they were continuously in communication with terrorists roaming around, and they were able to give them information that energy is coming from this side, you should move on the eastern part of the hotel. Due to this, what happened? It compromised the operational efficiency of energy. It also led to increase in the time that should be taken as such, jeopardizing the life of people inside. So that's why regulation was brought in that whenever any news channel is broadcasting any news, it should be done in an ethical manner. It should not compromise the security, unity, integrity and all this kind of India as such. So it overall ensures objectivity, impartiality and fairness. It promotes decency and what you can call as responsible journalism. Okay, because journalism is not only sensationalizing the news to grab and catch more eyeballs, to generate more revenues and TRP. Okay, beyond TRP also journalists should be responsible. Okay, he or she should think about the repercussions of the news they are broadcasting on the channel. Right, so that is what it was focused upon, especially focused upon ensuring that the news should not disturb the communal harmony as such. Okay, it should be ethical in nature. That is the reason behind this kind of regulations. Now, as far as the powers and jurisdiction of this organization is concerned, we have discussed before, anyone can put a complaint if they have something to do or something to say against a particular news and all. After that, if suppose no one has put complaint, in that case also, if it comes to the attention of this organization can take which kind of action? Suo motu. Okay, by itself, it can register a complaint as such, right? Or individuals, government bodies, if they are complaining, then also can issue what? Warning. If it is of low scale, low intensity kind of violation, it can put censor. Okay, that means you have to disable a certain part of your programs if it is disturbing the peace and communal harmony, and impose penalties that we have discussed. Plus, in the worst case, modification or even removal of content is ordered by this organization. If on the other hand, some people can also be more sensitive. Okay, they feel that no, this is not a good content, right? In that case, if no valid ground of violation is found here, what can be done? Organization can dismiss the complaint directly. So these are the powers and jurisdictions of NDSB. Structure and grievance redressal, if you look, so it is headed by a chairperson. Chairperson generally is eminent jurist. You talk about the current situation, it is headed by a retired Justice of India called as A.K. Sikri. So A.K. Sikri, current chairperson of NDSB. Apart from that, because it is related to the field of journalism, who does it include? Editors. Who does it include? Expert from law, education, literature, as well as public administration as such. Grievance redressal is two-tiered. First level complaint is registered to broadcaster, who is broadcasting the news, and in the second level only, if broadcaster does not heed to it, okay, or he does not give explanation, does not take any action as such, matter can be escalated to NBDSA. So, if you have grievance against any digital content that is being published, either complain to broadcaster first, and after that, if no action is taken, you can then further escalate to NBDSA. And obviously, if NBDSA also does not come with the proper resolution, you always have that traditional system of going to High Court, Supreme Court, and all that. So that is anyway last resort. So that's the point here. About when we talk about the delay in the this orders, like 1 year we have taken as an average. So A.K. Sikri, he said that the main reason behind this is that how this organization functions, it's not that majority basis. Okay, like if suppose 5 people are there, 5 members are there, how order is passed that this penalty should be imposed or whether takedown order should be issued. It is based on consensus. That means all 5 members have to agree. Then only they are able to pass order. So A.K. Sikri stated that many times it is not easier to build consensus among the members. That is why delay. So this point you can write here. Delay. The reason behind delay is largely due to consensus-based approach, consensus-driven approach taken by this organization, which is difficult to obtain, especially in the this sensitive cases and all that. So that's the reason. That's the fourth. Coming to last, the NDMA, that is National Disaster Management Authority. It has recently come up with India's first ever DVI guidelines. What is DVI guideline? Disaster Victim Identification. If someone has become unfortunately a victim of disaster, so how to identify that person, especially in such disasters where the structural integrity of body is completely damaged. Okay, like we have seen the case of aircraft crashes. It becomes very difficult to identify who is the individual, especially if it is large aircraft having more than 200, 300 people and all that. So how identification of victim has to be done? In that case, guideline is given by NDMA, and here focuses on what part of body? Teeth. Okay, teeth hold the key. That is why they have focused on teeth. So we'll talk about this, what they are saying about. So NDMA released India's first national DVI guidelines. What is it titled? National Disaster Management Guidelines on Comprehensive Disaster Victim Identification and Management. Okay, so that is the thing here. How identification has to be done? What is the focus on? Scientific identification. Okay, so the method of carrying out victim identification should be based on science, scientific methods, scientific criteria and such. And after identification, because we're talking about management, NDMA also has stated that once body is identified, body part are identified, the handover to family should be done in which manner? Dignified manner. Okay, so you have taken into consideration the dignity of individuals, okay, who have died unfortunately. And this release marks the 25 years of 2001 Gujarat earthquake. Okay, because NDMA, Entire Disaster Management Act, what this we can say inspired government of India to come with such act. It was two disasters in quick succession: 2001 Bhuj earthquake, 2004 tsunami. Okay, so 2001 was when you have the Bhuj earthquake. So 25 years, 2026, we are looking at here. Now question is that why such guidelines are needed? Why disaster victim identification guidelines are needed? Reason is because identification of victims becomes very complicated in cases. Which kind of cases? Aircraft incident. What kind of cases? Factory explosion, flood like cases, okay, bomb blast and all that. So that's why we need to have proper guideline, and till now we did not have any standard operating procedures that has to be followed all across India as such. So different agencies, different state governments were doing it on their own basis, based on the traditional methods and all that. Plus India also lacks trained manpower who have expertise on this inspecting or investigating the remains of the body, and based on those remains analyze it through chemical method, through different method, identify who was the victim here. So limitations are largely on traditional identification method. And identification method means tattoos, for example, okay, whatever cuts and all bruises that, no, not bruises, the cuts basically, you get permanent marks that you have in body and such, right? So these things are taken into consideration. But okay, many cases are such that if person is victim of aircraft crash, okay, you have so many bodies lying around, right? Body is divided into multiple parts. How would you know that who is who? And anyway, for closure of family, what you require? Something you have to give, okay, so they can do the funeral ceremony, cremation ceremony, burying ceremony, whatever is required. So that is why it is very important that identification should be done. Okay, it is also humanitarian in nature, not only for scientific purposes but also humanitarian and legal in nature. Why legal? Because insurance policies, how if person has life insurance policy, it can be claimed only if government certified person died. How will government certify it? If they are able to identify the body of persons, right? So both from humanitarian, legal perspective also very significant decision taken by NDMA. Now coming to the basic of guidelines. What is the guidelines largely about? 4-stage identification process they have delineated here. Okay, identification should be done in the 4 stages. 4 stages means systematic recovery of human remains. That is the first thing. From the accident site, from the blast site, and whatever site you have, victim human remains should be systematically recovered. Then after you have to collect which kind of data? After death, that is post-mortem data as such. What kind of data should be collected here? 3 major type of data: DNA based data, fingerprints, and dental records. So the scientific basis of classification is largely rooted in 3 methods of classification based on DNA analysis, fingerprint analysis, and dental record. Other things have to be ignored because they are not very concrete evidence. Okay, they are not very reliable evidence, we can say, right? So fingerprints, dental record, DNA, they are the most reliable source. Then once you have collected the post-mortem data, how would you know that who is victim? You have to match it with what? Ante-mortem data. That means before death, whatever data the person has. So we'll match with what? Medical record, dental record, as well as family record. How do you know that you have extracted DNA from victim? How do you know who is the person? You will go and match with the members of victim's family. If DNA matching is there, it matches, it means person is member of that family. Same way dental record and all that. Okay, dental record, for example, someone has gone through dental surgery and all that. Okay, the tooth has replaced by, for example, zirconia, for example, right? Now these days zirconia is one of the major replacement. So you would see zirconia implantation was there. You will go and check the dental record. Okay, if it is matching, that means the probability is the person is the victim. So reconciliation after that, reconciliation through scientific matching. After when you match them and you conclude that yes, victim and the data matches, what you have to do? You have to release the data, release information, and give the body part remains to the victim's family. Key forensic provision is also highlighted here because focus I told you in beginning itself is on what? Dental data. Now all people, not all people have gone through dental surgery and they have changed their dental pattern and all these kind of things, right? So suppose someone died tomorrow in a crash and he has no dental record because he never visited dentist. How do you know and match dental pattern? Ante-mortem data is missing, only post-mortem data you have. So what government has emphasized, NDM has emphasized, that you should basically, everyone should have their dental data available with the family as such. Okay, they should go, even they have talked about you can go and take the x-ray of your tooth pattern, even if you do not have any problem as such. Okay, you take a photograph, normal photograph of your tooth patterns and also keep it with the families as such, right? So after death, okay, what will happen? They are able to easily match it as such. So such kind of system exists in many other countries. India would not have such kind of system of data collections and all, right? So use of teeth and jaws for reliable identification, forensic archaeology for delayed identification. Delayed identification case we can look at by taking example from Northeast India. Okay, nowadays many forensic archaeologists are extracting dead bodies from the rocks and the sediments who died during the World War II. Okay, when Japanese forces invaded northeastern part of India. So now what they are getting after so many years, right? 80 years we can say they are this finally extracting the victim's body remains. How do they know who this person is? Right? Only reliable thing is entire body is disintegrated. Only left part is what? Teeth and jaw structure and all that. So that's why forensic archaeology is developing as a major field in this area. A strengthening of forensic odontologic capacity is also a objective of this guideline. Odontology refer to dentist, okay, dental pattern based analysis and all that. Okay, no mass autopsies in mass fatality event. That is also a guideline that is given. Okay, mass autopsy should not be carried out. So that is the key forensic provision. Implementation and sensitivity. Also they have emphasized respect for cultural and religious practices as such. Okay, should not destroy the body so that cultural practices of remains is interfered with. Emotional support and counseling should be given to affected families. Okay, so that is also something that has to be done. Creation of state level specialized forensic teams in India, that is one of the major problem. Forensic labs are very less in number. One major lab that you have is in Hyderabad, Central Forensic Science Laboratory. So in the case of major crimes, if DNA analysis has to be done, sample from all across India is being brought where? Hyderabad. So imagine the institute is placing so much pressure. They are dealing the cases of all India level. Plus during transportation and all that, there is a chance of this, okay, the data and all that you have to be, okay, it is mismatched and all that. That happened in the case of ROC murder case, very popular murder case we have in Delhi. Okay, so many people later on, CBI officers suggested that during the transportation of the samples, okay, DNA samples and all that, there was some cases of corruption and bribery and data was kind of manipulated. Same happened in Pune recently. You have this Lamborghini murder case, okay, where initially police under pressure and under the, we can say, power of money, they try to change the sample, okay, so that to ensure that they can say that the guy was not drunk. Okay, later on when pressure was applied, it was found that they have this swapped the sample. Okay, so person was drunk. So that is largely because of lack of a specialized forensic teams. If forensic is called upon immediately, okay, at a site of disaster, at a site of crime, then easily in a scientific way we can collect data. Manipulation chances would be less. Targeted training for complex disaster scenarios, how you will manage it, how will you handle and extract data should also be done. What is the significance of guideline? It is based on which method? Interpol disaster victim identification method. So International Criminal Police, as you know, it also has adapted similar approaches, but we have changed it slightly. Why? To adapt it to Indian social, cultural and legal conditions and such, right? Strengthens overall disaster governance, integrates science, ethics and technology, plus it addresses which kind of disaster? Climate disaster, urban disaster as well as industrial disasters. So this is just a guideline, still implementation, we have to go a long way as such. So how it is implemented, what are the challenges we will face, that will only be clear going forward. Okay, but this is at least a welcome step taken in this regard. Challenges, what are the challenges? Collection of data is a challenge. Why? Because it is not only you have to collect data, but you have to collect it at fast rate, as fast as possible. Otherwise, body will start to decompose rapidly. Plus, remains are also fragmented in nature, right? That creates challenge for the data collection. Infrastructure, interagency coordination gaps we are seeing, right? police, local police that works. NDMA has their own NDRF example as such, right? CBI, then you have in some cases of crime. In case of terrorism related crimes, then you have the involvement of NIA. How all these agencies will work together? Who will be the prime agency responsible for evidence collection, right? How this agency will transfer these remains or these what you can call as data to the other agencies like forensic science and all that. So that remains a big gap. How you will coordinate between several agencies and who will be given which kind of responsibilities. And also the biggest issue is lack of, as I told you before also, we do not have any central system where data from most of people are put there. So lack of centralized anti-mortem data. Okay, like in case of US you have CODIS, CODIS, CODIS. What happens in this case, CODIS case? You go to a dentist. Okay, your dental pattern is with dentist. He automatically will have to upload it on CODIS. Okay, in case of you becoming victim of certain crime or certain disaster, what will happen? Already you have a centralized database, you match this sample. You understand that this was a person, right? So that is something we have to do. A centralized database has to be created for the entire population, so victim identification can be rapid without much problem. Way forward is pre-disaster, same thing, data repository, and today we can take use help of Digital India because it is easier to collect huge volume of data and keep it centralized in a digital format. Use of AI based forensic and portable DNA labs we can do, plus enhanced international cooperation as far as disaster victim identification is concerned, because many other countries you have well developed system, infrastructure, scientific instrument we can say. So in case of mass disaster, like in case of aircraft disaster, if you are not able to handle it internally, we can also take help of what? Other countries. Okay, so that's something we have to focus upon. So these are challenges and way forward. If you look at few of the questions based on the topic today, in the first CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, consider the following statement. Okay, what is the correct statement? Certain function that I emphasized upon. Okay, which ministry? Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. That is incorrect. National Nodal Agency for Responding to Cyber Security Incident. True. Derives its mandate from which act? ITR, Information Technology. So 2 and 3A. Then coking coal, classified as strategic mineral today. Coking coal differs from thermal mainly because of can soften, swell and form coke when heated in the absence of air. Okay, so only in the absence of air you have the formation of coke. Then with the reference to opening of Himalayan peaks for mountaineering in Uttarakhand, consider the following statement. What is the correct option? A, B, C or D? A. Okay. A is first is high value because we have discussed mountaineering expedition is high value per capita income. This expenditure is very high. Volume is low because not all people can come for mountaineering expedition, and this that is why high value low volume. Second, fee waivers we have discussed in the beginning. Third, what is the false statement? Tourism is state subject. Forest governance is in concurrent list. So you have also involvement of central government. So A, that is the correct option. And then NBDSA, we talk about the reference to News Broadcasting and Digital Standard Authority. 2 and 3. Okay, this already I told you in the beginning. It's not a statutory body. Okay, there is no act governing its function as such. Okay, same thing. That is last one. National Disaster Victim Identification Guidelines issued by NDMA. Consider the following statement. 1 and 2. Mass autopsies are not permitted. Okay, basically they are not mandated. Identification was reconciliation of antemortem and postmortem. Before death, after death data, comparison you make, based on that you identify the victim. First is guidelines based on, we have discussed Interpol DVA standard. Mass autopsies has to be avoided. Okay, that is what the data, the guidelines system. So that's all as far as this week is concerned.